Hello everyone and welcome to another video on the channel. Today's video is going to be a follow-up video from a video I did a few months ago, and I did say I did intend on making a part 2. I've just had a lot of other content put out, but I'm going to batch record a few videos now for the next week because I've only got one stored, plus obviously there'll be this one then, so there should be about 3 videos next week that way still. So yeah, this is the second part to my underrated biopics that I recommend. I know a lot of people like recommendation type videos where you recommend different films from different genres, different sorts of things, some of which you may have never heard of. I always enjoy those sorts of videos. Gives me plenty of things to add to like my watch list if I've got nothing to watch, or if I want to find something else to get. So for this particular video, again, like I said, there'll be a part 2. There will also more than likely be a part 3, with the possibility of there being a part 4. See how we go, see how many I've got that I think are worthy to talk about. As I said, I've got 10 here to talk about, so I'm going to get straight on with it, with the first one, which is from 2015, and it is a film called The 33. This is set in 2010, and basically what happens is 33 Chilean miners got buried alive after a horrible mine collapse, and for 69 days this huge team worked night and day to basically rescue all of these men, whilst their families are basically waiting to find out if they're alright, if they're still alive, because they can't get any communication to them. Antonio Banderas is like the leader of the group, the 33, trying to get everyone's spirits up, make everyone feel like there is hope that they can get out of there. And in parts, it's a really feel-good film. It's a really interesting film about, I always like these sorts of, like I really like that 13 Lives as well. But you've got a really good cast in this. You've got obviously Antonio Banderas, Rodrigo Santoro, Juliette Binoche, James Brolin, Lou Diamond Phillips, Mario Casas, Adriana Barraza, Kate Del Castillo, Cote de Pablo, Bob Gunton, and Gabriel Byrne. So really good cast, and like I said, really underrated biopic in my opinion. Music done by James Horner in what was probably one of, if not maybe his last film score he did in his lifetime. Yeah, really recommend this if you've not seen it before. If you like a good biopic that's got hope in it, then yeah, I recommend this one. That is The 33. Next up one I think I've spoken about before, I don't know how long ago. It's from 1990, and it is Awakenings, which is a Penny Marshall film starring both Robert De Niro and Robin Williams. Now in this story, Robin Williams plays a doctor who's he's quite shy, and he's a research physician who's basically using an experimental drug to what they call awaken these catatonic victims that are suffering from a very rare disease back in the, I want to say it's about the 50s possibly. Robert De Niro plays one of these patients who has been catatonic since he was a young boy. And not a spoiler because it's a true story, so anything in here that you think's a spoiler, it's a true story. So, and I'm only reading what's off the back as well. It works. They basically awaken, basically become themselves again from when they were, before they were in this catatonic state. And again, very much the story of hope and of faith and belief, and really heartwarming, really good film with some terrific performances from the likes of obviously Robert De Niro, Robin Williams, music by Randy Newman, who's always obviously good, and yeah, one that I just don't hear people talk about very often, so I thought I would mention it in this video. That is Awakenings. And then next up from 2013, we have Tom Hanks in Captain Phillips. Again, based on a true story set in 2009 about the hijacking of the US container ship known as Maersk, Alabama. which was hijacked by a small group of Somali pirates. And obviously Tom Hanks plays Captain Phillips, who was the captain of this ship, who is basically taken prisoner by this group, who are basically giving orders, but they're also it's an interesting story. It's Paul Greengrass, so expect his sort of like camera work. It's very choppy. It's a really good story. I saw it at the cinema a long time ago now, and thoroughly enjoyed. I've not actually seen it for a long time, so I need to go back to it because I can remember obviously when they're trying to get on board the ship and parts of it, the ending specifically in the life raft. But yes, one that definitely deserves a rewatch, I would say. That is Captain Phillips. And next up, one that I definitely have spoken about before, from 2005. This is Kurt Russell and Dakota Fanning in Dreamer, which, as it says on the front, is inspired by a true story. Follows Kurt Russell's character, who is a horse trainer, and Dakota Fanning plays his young daughter, who has a sheer determination to kind of help recuperate an injured racehorse, which just so happens to change both of their lives for the better. You've got Chris Christopherson, who, if memory serves me right, plays Kurt Russell's father in the film. Elizabeth Shue plays his wife. Got Freddie Rodriguez, who plays like one of the stable guys. Luis Guzman, who's always good as well. It's really uplifting, really good film that I remember watching a lot growing up. So I was happy when I found out that there was an American import, which was relatively cheap to pick up. Music by John Debney. You got David Morse is in this, who kind of, I suppose he plays the villain, I suppose you would say. Be a really good like sort of underdog type story. And if you like Kurt Russell, no brainer. Came out in a time where he wasn't really doing much, to be honest. He did a few things here and there, but not a great deal. He obviously did, before this, he did Dark Blue in 2003, which I wasn't the biggest fan of. Is it Ron Shelton that did that one, I believe? Set all around the Rodney King trial back in the 90s, and a police detective in LA during the time. And then directly after this, he would have done Death Proof, which would have come out the following year. And then he didn't really do a great deal for quite a while. And then he kind of made a resurgence in about 2013. He did a small film which I've yet to see called The Art of the Steal, and then sort of did the Fast and Furious films, The Hateful Eight, that sort of thing. Be a Dreamer. Really recommend this if you like I said, if you like a good underdog story, if you're a fan of Kurt Russell and you haven't seen it, or if how I described it sounds interesting to you, go do yourself a favour, pick it up. I'm sure the UK DVD's fairly reasonably priced. That is Dreamer. Next up, sort of a bigger film, but one of the underrated films again from this director as well. It's from 96, I think. No, not 96. 94 maybe. Yeah, either 94 or 93, I'm gonna say. It's Johnny Depp in Tim Burton's Ed Wood, about the I suppose you could call him infamous director from the 50s, who was a B-movie director. Is highly regarded to some in Hollywood nowadays as one of the worst directors to ever have lived. He did a lot of sci-fi B-movies in the 50s. He befriended an elderly Bela Lugosi who was struggling because he'd kind of been let go from Dracula and kind of just dumped. So he was struggling, and he was an opioid addict as well. Obviously, Martin Landau won an Academy Award for his portrayal of Bela Lugosi in this. Johnny Depp's really good, and I love the choice of filming this film in black and white. I think it fits the film to a T. You've also got Sarah Jessica Parker, who plays at one point Ed's like girlfriend. You've got Bill Murray, who's an associate of theirs that works with them. As I said, Martin Landau playing Bela Lugosi excellently, and it's just this story of this director from a small time in Hollywood, about his career, about his life, how it went. Um, and I like these sorts of films. Like, I really liked The Disaster Artist as well, about Tommy Wiseau, which I might show in a future video. But yeah, this is just a really good. Patricia Arquette's in this as well. Music by Howard Shore. If you've not seen this from Tim Burton's filmography, it's, like I said, an underdog of his films, I think. Very much underrated and really good film. So yeah, that is Ed Wood. Next up, from 2016, we have a film starring Chris Pine, Casey Affleck, Ben Foster, and Eric Bana, and it is called The Finest Hours. It's a Disney film, which very underseen back in the day. It was directed by Craig Gillespie, who you may know from directing I, Tonya. He also directed in 2023 Dumb Money, and he is currently directing the new Supergirl film. I think it's called Woman of Tomorrow. So, oh, and he did Cruella as well, which was a good film. But yeah, also Disney. But yeah, really enjoy this one. Basically about a true story of the greatest small boat rescue in US Coast Guard history. I can't remember when it's set. Quite a long time ago, 40s maybe, 30s or 40s. Basically, there's a massive storm that hits just off of the coast of Cape Cod, and it rips a big oil tanker basically in half, which then traps the 30 sailors on board on it whilst it's sinking. So Chris Pine is captain of the Life Coast Guard, who goes out with his crew in a tiny rescue boat to go out and save them basically from disaster. There's lots of action in it. It's very tense. Really good performances, especially Chris Pine's really good in this. Casey Affleck's really good in this. And yeah, like I said, one that I don't really hear people talk about. Possibly could have been when it was released. It just went right under the radar. I think it was a January release in 2016, which is generally a dumping ground for films nowadays. But yeah, you got John Ortiz is in this as well, it says. Any other good talent? Always looking for talent. Looks like the main stuff. But yeah, really good. Again, very much in the same vein as, what was the other one I was talking about? Like the 33, in like a sort of a disaster true story sort of thing. But really interesting, and yeah, one that I personally really enjoy and find underrated. The Finest Hours. Then next up, from 2014, we have a film starring Steve Carell, Channing Tatum, and Mark Ruffalo called Foxcatcher, directed by Bennett Miller, who to this day has only directed 3 feature films in his career. He's directed Capote with Philip Seymour Hoffman, which I have still got to watch. I picked that up not that long ago. He followed that up in 2011 with Moneyball with Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And then he did this one, as I said, in 2014, which again, thoroughly enjoyed this one. He is supposedly doing something else, don't know what exactly, but he has got a few things in the pipeline, I believe. But this is more of a thriller, but a true story. In this, Steve Carell plays very eccentric billionaire John DuPont from the DuPont family, who invites this Olympic wrestler, Mark Schultz, played by Channing Tatum, to basically move to his huge estate and help him form a wrestling team for the upcoming Olympics in Seoul. And Channing Tatum's character sees this as a way to basically show his brother that he's got what it takes to be successful. And his brother's a bit skeptical. He wants his brother to be involved, but his brother doesn't get on with DuPont, thinks there's something off about him, and DuPont does start leading Mark down quite a deep path during his training, messes with his head mentally, and just really terrific performances in this as well. You've got Sienna Miller in this one as well. anyone else? Vanessa Redgrave plays DuPont's mother, elderly mother. And yeah, really good, again, underrated, like sports biopic, I would say, that I only discovered last year. But yeah, again, one that I really enjoy watching. That is Foxcatcher. 3 to go. Next up, from 2005, we have Curtis 50 Cent Jackson in Get Rich or Die Trying, which is basically essentially a biopic about his life, with him, obviously, he's playing himself. It's directed by Jim Sheridan, who did another fantastic film in 2003 called In America, starring both Paddy Considine and Samantha Morton, which I really enjoyed. Check that one out if you haven't seen it. About two, I think they're Irish immigrants who, with their young children, have basically immigrated to America, New York, and it's about them basically adapting to their life. But yeah, this one basically yeah, to say this gripping tale based on 50 Cent's real life story is a film with a rich and convincing texture, a drama with power and anger. So yeah, essentially it's a biopic about 50 Cent's upbringing, how he became famous, the people around him, that sort of thing. You've got Terrence Howard in this, Joy Bryant, Bill Duke, Adewale Akinnuoye Abaji, I think you say his name, Omar Benson Miller, who's always really good, and Viola Davis, who I believe plays his mum in the film. It's really good. Quite an early performance from Viola Davis before she was famous. But yeah, really like this one. Who directed this one? Oh, I said already. Jim Sheridan. Yeah, if you're interested in like these sorts of music type biopics, this is one of my favourites. That I just discovered on a whim when they released it for the first time on Blu-ray. I think it came out the same time as The Last Castle and The General's Daughter. Excellent choices to release on Blu-ray Paramount. If you keep doing that with your back catalogue, you'll have a lot more purchases. They did it with The Saint as well, didn't they? I do want to get young Sherlock Holmes as well, which they did. Quite a few. But yeah, this one is Get Rich or Die Trying. Next up, from 2006, with a very impressive cast of Adrian Brody, Diane Lane, Ben Affleck, and Bob Hoskins, we have Hollywoodland, which is a really interesting story set in the 50s, follows George Reeves, played by Ben Affleck, who was TV's Superman, the first person to portray not only Superman but a superhero on the screen before came to life. And if you don't know, he basically committed suicide at quite a young age, and they put it down, I think, to depression. But his, I suppose, mistress, played by Diane Lane, who's actually married to Eddie Mannix, who is a big Hollywood studio fixer, real person, played by Bob Hoskins. Very dangerous man in this film, anyways, portrayed to be. She basically hires Adrian Brody's private investigator to find out if there was any foul play, what really happened. And I suppose, in a way, it's a bit of a fictional take, a bit of a different what if sort of scenario type of thing, which I really enjoyed. I thought Ben Affleck was really good in this, and as I said again, one that's really underrated, one that you just don't really get heard talk about anymore. But I personally thought was a really entertaining, interesting watch. About a period of time in Hollywood, which I really enjoy looking at, and some real people that quite interesting lives. George Reeves had a very interesting life. Yeah, that is Hollywoodland. And the final one, which is a fairly recent pickup, which I did talk about a bit when I showed it in my pickups video, is from 2010, and it stars Richard Gere and Joan Allen, and it is Hachi, A Dog's Tale, based on a true story, which actually happened in Japan, I believe, in the I think it was the 1800s, or maybe during one of the wars, at least I'd say about 100 years ago, maybe. But this, in this, basically Richard Gere plays the man who in this is a professor, distinguished professor. He basically finds this small puppy, Hachi, who's covered up on here, but he is on the back. Takes him home, brings him in, adopts him, much to his wife's objections. and they form a very close bond. And if anyone's ever had a dog, you know how attached you become to dogs, how strong the bonds your dogs grow to you. And this film just shows that. It's going to be one of those films that dog lovers, it could be quite dangerous to watch, but it's worth it because it's a really good film. Basically, what happens is he waits for his owner every day outside the train station to come home from work, and he does this every day. And I'll leave it there. I'm not going to go any further than that. Watch it yourself if that sounds interesting to you. But yeah, really good film. Trigger warning, it could be upsetting, like I said, to dog lovers. But it's worth watching. I love Richard Gere as well. So really happy to show this one off as an underrated film. So that's it. Just over 20 minutes, which is perfect time for this video. Let me know if you agree with any of those, if you've not seen any of those. Thoughts of any of those, if you've seen them, down below. Do you agree with me? Do you think that they are underrated, that they're good? Like to hear all of your thoughts about these down below in the comments. I will say I have my... Oh no, because like I said, I have no idea when I'm going to put this up. Might put it up Monday or Tuesday possibly. So it's likely I'll mention it in my weekly watches, which I'm going to record tomorrow, obviously. That'll be out Sunday. You'll probably have already seen that by the time you watch this. And then the live stream Monday night is at 8:30 this week, which I will... Hopefully you'll have seen a post that I put up on YouTube saying that we're going an hour later because it's my first day starting a new job. And then I'm going to get home at about 5:30, 5:45, and as soon as I get home I'm going on a 2-hour driving lesson. So that's 7:15, not 7:15, 7:45, 7:30, 7:45, shall we call it, and then I've got to have my tea, and then by the time I've had that, it's going to be about 8:30, so thought I'd just push it back an hour. Just might mean it's a little bit shorter this week, but I'll make up for it the following week. Excuse me. But yeah, that's it. I've babbled on long enough. If you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Turn your notification bell on so you know when I have a new video uploaded to the channel. Comment down below anything and everything. As you know, I always take the time to get back to anyone that leaves me a comment because I really do appreciate it. And that is it. So until next time, everyone, take care. Goodbye.